The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everyone. It's 2 o'clock Central European time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to today's BIOM webinar. Thank you all for joining me today. Really appreciate spending your time with us. Today we're talking about CrowdMics. I've prepared a few slides to give you an overview about the product and what is needed to successfully operate CrowdMics in the field. Quick introduction of myself. My name is Marco. I'm with BIOM for over 7 years now, and I'm based in Germany. Together with my European team members, I'm responsible for training and post-sales technical support for European distributors. Before joining BIOM, I worked for another manufacturing industry, and well, meanwhile, I can look back on almost 15 years in the AV industry, which is great and also a bit scary. All right, so today's agenda, we will look into a quick introduction to CrowdMics, also what hardware is involved and how to configure the hardware and the system itself. And there will be maybe the longer part of the whole session, an extensive demo of CrowdMics. So we will get through all of the features and options. And in the end, I will do a quick Q&A session. You will have the option to ask questions throughout the session using your control panel. So feel free to just text them right when they come up. I will probably answer them throughout the question. If there's no time for answering right away, I will keep them for the end. And also we will also have the chance to have a review after the session and answer your questions by email. So that's usually not a problem. All right, let's get an overview about CrowdMics. CrowdMics is an audience engagement solution. So it allows you to talk through the venue's PA using your phone. You can text questions or comments to the presenter, and you can also participate in polls. All these functions in one solution. So what problems does CrowdMics solve? So every one of us who has ever attended or operated or maybe presented in a public speaking event knows the struggle of interacting with the audience in a comfortable way, right? So the flow of information in this situation is always unidirectional. One or more presenters are speaking to an audience. There is no dialogue. And however, the audience might be full of like people with good questions, but they're afraid to speak up in front of everyone. And of course, the bigger the audience is, the inhibition becomes even higher. And so the good thing about CrowdMics is that it can at least help to remove the hassle of using technology in these situations. What I mean with that is that CrowdMics adds the option to text questions to the presenter. And they will be displayed through a very simple, easy to use UI. And also, people who are uncomfortable with public speaking will get a device they are already familiar with. So it's their phone, right? So there's no longer passing around an audience mic, maybe mid in a sentence of a question. Actually, you may have probably had like witnessed it yourself in these situations. Someone is already asking a question to the presenter, and everyone else in the room is like, "Hey, pass the mic. Can you repeat that, please? I didn't understand." So that's really solving that problem. And there's no longer catching devices while everyone is looking at you, which is also good as well. So The markets most likely will be in the educational vertical, corporate auditoriums, large presentation spaces, AV rental companies. I think it's a great product for rental, event solution providers, and so on. So the hardware involved. What equipment do we need to get started with CrowdMics? And actually, the only BIAMP hardware device is the CrowdMics Atom. It runs the necessary software to discover and connect with mobile devices on the network, which are running the CrowdMics applications. So that's the moderator app, or also short for MA, and the participants app. The necessary apps are available in Apple's App Store and in the Google Play Store, and they're for free. So you can just download them and they are ready to use right away. Be aware that the moderator app is available for the iPad only. However, there are alternatives to using the moderator app on other devices as well, but we will get to that later. The Atom is a hardware appliance required to run CrowdMics. It is a small form factor computer in actually a pretty nice and sleek enclosure. I really like the design. It's following the new design language of some newer BIAMP expander devices like the Tessera Connect or the TCMX, for those who know those units. It's about 5" by 5". Weighs around 2 pounds. Again, it's a very well-designed product, great look and feel. It is convection cooled and also has an SSD storage, so it operates completely silent without any moving parts or fans. On the rear panel, we will see a few connectors allowing to interface CrowdMics as easily as possible with any kind of AV equipment. Of course, there is a power button because we need to turn it on. Then there are 2 network ports allowing us to connect with the local network. There are 2 USB 3.0 ports. Those are currently being used for audio only. So there's nothing that you can do in terms of control or other communication. It is USB audio outputs. The good thing here is that it nicely integrates with the Tessera platform because our Tessera Forte devices have a USB input, and also the XUVT can be connected to it. So it is possible to integrate it through a digital audio signal path into Tessera without any further AD to DA conversion steps. It should be possible to use other audio interfaces as well, like external sound cards or a USB input on your mixing console. Then there are 2 HDMI output ports. Those will be used for giving out the display contents. So I mentioned before that you can ask questions to the presenter, so you can text messages. Also, you can attend in polls. So those outputs allow you to show the results of the polls through a display. You can connect those HDMI outputs to your video distribution system, then spread the picture out through the room, or put it into a recording system. The audio output is a 3-pin Euroblock balanced, so it has a smaller pitch than what you used on the Tessera platform. So I guess that's a 2.5 millimeter pitch. So it's a smaller connector. However, it is a proper balanced output. It's a line audio output, so you can get a good quality out of it. And if you want to connect the Atom to a mixing console, you can easily build a Phoenix to XLR adapter, so that really doesn't take a lot of time. Also, there is a 3.5mm headphone jack, which can also be used for any kind of auxiliary audio devices. For what I'm using it mostly is just plugging in your headphone and check if the audio is working. So that's pretty handy as well. So that's the hardware connections on the back of the unit. Let's look into actual connection diagrams. So how do I integrate this device? What you're seeing right now would be a typical connection drawing for a standalone or portable CrowdMics system, only using one of the two network ports we've just seen. On the networking side, you can see a wired Ethernet connection to the house network, which is hosting a wireless network as well here through this access point. And of course, then you will need another wired connection to the audio system here, either through analog or USB audio. And if you like, you can connect the HDMI outputs to your local video distribution system or directly to a projection facility or display. All of the mobile devices, like the participant smartphones, will connect through the wireless access point, and also the moderator application, if run on an iPad, will also connect wirelessly. Now, here is a typical connection drawing for an fixed installed CrowdMics system using two network ports. We are now separated into a public network, which is only used for Atom to app communication. So that's all what's happening here on this side. And all of the other critical things like access to the administration web page is now isolated to the management network, which is here connected to Ethernet port number 2. We have conducted and passed certain penetration tests by external testing facility to ensure there's no leak between the two network ports. So, which could possibly allow an intrusion from one to another network. So we really take care that this is not possible. Of course, these kind of pen tests are very important and often requested by governmental or corporate end customers. Configuration. The initial setup, and well, actually, there is no initial setup required to use CrowdMics, because CrowdMics can be considered as a plug-and-play product. Once it's connected to a wireless network through either one of the network ports, it will be discoverable by mobile devices using the moderator app or the participant app. The most CrowdMics demos actually that are running out there in the field are done with the same type of like $100 ASUS router. It's a consumer product. It only creates a wireless network, provides a DHCP address to the Atom, and we're good to go. So that's the minimum requirement to just get CrowdMics running. However, for additional settings, or if you want to run a software update, there is a web-based admin page that you can just access by a web browser. Type in the host name of the local Atom device, which is a combination of Atom dash and then the serial number of the device .local. If you address this, it will just open up a web page. You can log in via admin and a combination of the first 4 and last 4 digits of the serial number, and that will give you access to the configuration page. Of course, those credentials can be edited, so you can just lock it down and move it away from the standard default settings. Furthermore, the Atom can also be managed by SageView. So if you're familiar with SageView, it is a remote management software for the Tessera platform, for Devio, for Cambridge Sound Management. So also the CrowdMics system, the Atom, will show up in SageView, and you can configure a couple of settings here. Now to the most frequently asked question about CrowdMics. What network do I need for a reliable CrowdMics operation? And well, here's some advice. In general, I'm always telling people that they should use professional grade equipment. I'm not saying that it won't operate reliably on consumer grade network equipment, but it doesn't give you good numbers. So the thing is that professional grade equipment will have specific specifications for performance ratings. For instance, if you're planning a bigger CrowdMics setup, you want to know the account you want to know the expected number of simultaneously connected clients in the setup. That's an important number. And of course, professional grade equipment can give you ratings about that. So how many simultaneous clients can a specific wireless access point handle, for instance? That's often stated as a per radio client capacity. So that's something that you can work with, and it's a number you can rely on. And that's, of course, very important in critical events you want to run with CrowdMics. Also, you want to consider the coverage area of single or multiple wireless access points in a room. This is also stated in professional grade equipment. So if you look for the data sheets, they will give you exact angles and how widespread a specific radio is, well, capable of working in an environment. So that's something you want to consider as well. Interestingly enough, bandwidth is probably the least concerning thing in CrowdMics. The traffic within CrowdMics is very lightweight. It's just discovery between mobile devices and the Atom. And there's a little bit of text flowing back and forth, like if you just send a message to the presenter. The audio stream is, well, very small. So it is encrypted audio. It is compressed as well. Still, we're keeping a very good quality, but it is really not that big. And also there's only one active audio stream at a time on the network. So this is really not a concern. Bandwidth should be good. I guess the major concern in designing wireless networks that operate CrowdMics is, again, the number of simultaneously connected clients and also the coverage area in a room. On shared networks, you may want to ensure there are no restrictions on the following IP ports and protocols. So if we look what's happening under the hood in CrowdMics, we see a couple of ports that are being used to communicate with different devices. So on port 443, there's like the HTTPS access to the admin website. Well, not used for operation, but you probably want to, access the Atom to change a couple of things maybe, or run a software update. So therefore, this port should be accessible. Also on port 8888, there are WebSockets that are used for the host and app communication. So this is really critical for the communication between the smartphones and the Atom device. Then very important as well is MDNS. 5353 is used for device discovery. So without permission of MDNS or MDNS multicast on the network, you will get problems with discovering devices. So the result could be that you are running the participants app on your smartphone and you will not be able to discover a running event in that location, right? Then there's a very wide port range. I hope to get some more specific numbers in the future on that. That is basically used for secure RTP audio transport. Again, we are encrypted on the audio side. So that's a web RTC based audio stream running here. it is possible to add CrowdMics to the local guest Wi-Fi service. If there are any concerns about performance or network security that result in a separate wireless network to be set up for CrowdMics, it is indeed possible to route internet access into the CrowdMics network. But this should be obviously discussed with the local IT department, just because of security concerns, bandwidth restrictions, and so on. What's happening more and more, I guess, is that CrowdMics systems are being used for different events. So it's like you use CrowdMics for one event and then just take it off site to take it to another event, like rental companies would do. These kind of networks can also be used without internet access, because most mobile devices are capable of using the connected Wi-Fi for the CrowdMics app, while internet access remains with the mobile network carrier. So that's probably how CrowdMics is used most of the times. So that was the network part. A couple of things to keep in mind in general when planning CrowdMics, when designing CrowdMics systems. Of course, there are many different smartphones on the market, we all know. And there are, of course, differences in audio performance as well. What I mean with that is that some phones might be not as loud as other phones, and vice versa. For that purpose, Tessera AGC can definitely help to accommodate for that, to just, compensate for the volume differences in different phones. And even more so, there are many different wireless access points on the market, and the potential network configurations are virtually endless. Like, we cannot test every single configuration out there. What I want to say with that is that Biamp is committed to perform quality assurance for a variety of devices on the market. However, we cannot test any smartphone or wireless access point that is available worldwide. So it is recommended to test before running a gig. Preparation is everything. Also, a room full of people might behave differently in terms of wireless communication than an empty space. So the network performance might vary in these situations. So plan ahead and consult with a networking specialist prior to critical events. I'm not talking about like a small meeting or like a demo you're setting up, but if you really want to run a congress where you want to count on your network performance, it's better to get some specialists on your side and just consult with them what to do and make sure the network is really reliable working there. We will route the smartphone microphone signal through without adding any magic. So if you want to treat it, you really want to treat it like any other microphone and apply audio processing as needed. So if you need compression, add compressors, add AGC if necessary, add some EQing as necessary. Also, the same rules of physics will apply. The thing is that smartphone mics are usually omnidirectional. That brings a bit of, some problem actually in terms of gain before feedback. So if your speakers are like, if you amplify the CrowdMics signal too loud inside that room, the mics of the smartphones may pick up that signal and create feedback. So that's something you can easily test beforehand for the event. You can add a signal limiting. You can again add AGC to reduce the volume of very loud microphones. So that's something that can be tested beforehand and made sure that nothing happens throughout the event. So that's, again, something to keep in mind, especially that smartphone mics are omnidirectional. Again, good preparation is key to any event here. We do provide a lot of technical resources for CrowdMics. So if you wonder how to provide information about the product to your customer, to people who are interested in CrowdMics, there is a microsite which is good for end customers. It gives a good overview about its features and includes a very comprehensive FAQ section. So, which is also quite technical. So it includes a lot of good information. So it's really worth a visit. And then there's the CrowdMics help file. It's an online help file, which is pretty much the go-to resource for any technical questions on CrowdMics. It also includes a network administration guide, which is definitely an essential read prior to setting up CrowdMics. If you are talking to IT departments who are concerned about CrowdMics security, who have questions how to set it up and how to integrate it into their network, again, the network admin guide is a really good read on that help file here. We have a couple of Cornerstone articles as well. For those of you who know Cornerstone, it's our technical support website. It's a knowledge base, and there were some recently added articles about a CrowdMics design guide. It's covering some typical integration questions. For instance, when attaching it to a Tessera system or to a mixing console. So what gains do I have to set up? What filters or EQs are recommended, etc. There's also pre-configured Tessera files, examples, custom blocks you can use for Tessera's design library. They are ready for download, so it's pretty much a copy-paste thing. So you can just add the block, and you know that all of the compressors, AGC, and so on is already set up correctly. All right. I don't see any questions so far. Then we're probably ready for the fun part here and look into the demo. So I will quickly change to my browser window. You should all see my browser window, hopefully. What you're seeing right now is the welcome screen, or actually the login screen of the Atom configuration panel. So what I've done is just opening the browser and then type in Atom dash and then the full serial number of the device .local. The hostname will be resolved via MDNS. So if you fail to connect with the Atom in this fashion, there might be an MDNS problem. I've sometimes seen it on some Windows PCs that MDNS is not implemented that well. What sometimes helps is just find out the IP address of the Atom by using the control panel of your DHCP router. So you access the router, you see what DHCP address has been assigned to the Atom device, and then just navigate to the IP address through your web browser. All right, so once we've done that, you will see the login screen. By entering the username and password, I will be able to connect to the configuration panel, or without logging in, I can instantly get to the display app and to the moderator app. This is, by the way, this is a new feature with the latest software release. It's version 1.9. And let me just enter the moderator app here. So it will open a new browser tab. And this is basically what you will see on an iPad. If you're running the moderator app with an iPad, this will be the equivalent screen. But now it's on a web page, so you can basically open it with any other device. So you can use an Android tablet, you can use a PC that is probably built into the podium. of your venue or of the conference room. So that makes it very easy to get a good interface for the presenter. I've already logged in. So this is my login name. And this is already an event I've created before starting the webinar. So you can create a new one here by just clicking at, give the name, the event a name, event presenter, event description, and then create it, and you will get this event. By just clicking on join, I need to enter a 4-digit PIN. That's also new in version 1.9. Of course, you want to lock down the presenter capabilities. So, because otherwise, everyone would be able to just download the presenter app and then, or the moderator app, and work as a presenter in that meeting. So we don't want that. You can lock down the moderator mode with a PIN, at least. So logging in. So that's the default console I'm seeing on my side as a moderator. Currently, there's not much happening right now, but what we will focus on are those 4 buttons in the bottom here. It starts with the mic section. This is the audio part of CrowdMics, if you will. Then there's a comment section, there's a poll section, and stats. I'll go back to the mic. And now I hope that this is going to work, but I've prepared my smartphone here. See if that works with my camera. Just launch the webcam. May take some time, a couple of seconds. All right, and hopefully you now should be able to see my phone. Let me know if this is not the case, but otherwise I'm not sure if I can change it right away. So I'm launching the CrowdMics participant app. It's a bit blurry because it's a regular webcam, so the distance is not quite right, but it should just do the job. Good. Now, this is the event I've already created, and I will just click on it. There's also a pin code. And now I'm in the event. So this whole screen is everything that a participant will see. There's a little chat window, so you can just type in a text, or you can request audio. Yep. Right, okay. Just cancel that and ask to speak again. I'm asking to speak, and now the speaking request will pop up in the moderator app. So I see that I am actually requesting to speak, and I click on that mic permit button. There we go. And now it's my turn to speak. So now display changes to that push to talk mode, and as long as I keep the talk button held down, it will route my audio into the room. What I've done in this audio setup I'm using here for hosting the webinar is that I'm running all my presenter mic and also CrowdMics through a Tessera system, and it uses a Docker. So whenever I talk to the mic right now, it should duck my mic audio, and then I should be live through CrowdMics, and I will do this right now. So now I'm still on my presenter mic, and if I press and hold the button, I should now be on my smartphone. So this is what you hear through CrowdMics, and if I release the button, then I'm back on my regular presenter mic. We usually recommend people to talk very close to the microphone, because obviously microphones in a smartphone are used to be with a low distance to talk into. If I'm going further away from the mic, then you will hear a lot of more like room reverb coming in. But it works pretty good for this demo here. So I can now end the speaking request. And then it also clears the screen on my phone. So that's the audio option, probably the most important thing about CrowdMics. But maybe I don't want to send a speaking request because I'm a bit shy and I just want to ask a question nonetheless. So I can just type in a text. All right. So I'm just asking what's for lunch, what's on the buffet, and I can send this message to the moderator. And I'll get a notification on the moderator app. Go to the comment section, and this is the new one here. So I just got this message from a participant, and now I can decide if this is like a noteworthy comment I want to share with others. I can now publish that comment. I've done this with the other comments as well. I could just disable them and hit the publish button. Now what's happening is that it will be displayed in the display app, and therefore I go back to the Atom config panel and access the display app. So the display app is an application running on the Atom which is different from the moderator app. The display app will also have the same content, what's coming out of the HDMI ports. So the same thing you will see here is actually what's coming out of the HDMI. So that's what will be shown on your screen. If I go back to the moderator app, and I think those other questions are good as well, then those will be shown again also. Okay, so that's the comment function. By the way, if you disable all of these, the display app will show a splash screen. So that's the default splash screen shown. You will be able to add customized logos here. So if you have a custom logo for your event, a special event logo, or maybe the host of the event, the company logo, it can be added into that splash screen, and then it will be displayed here. Okay, going back to the moderator app and entering the poll section. If you want to conduct a poll, there's 3 different options. So I will begin. Let's just do a new poll. By the way, you can prepare all that before the event. That's what I've actually done here. So I've tested all these things earlier today, and already created a couple of polls, so I can save some time during the presentation now. So that's the same thing that you can do in a live event as well. Just create all of your polls beforehand, and then they are ready during the show without typing down any stuff. So there's 3 different options here. Multiple choice, yes and no questions, and multiple response. Now you may want to ask, what's the difference between multiple choice and multiple response? And I have an example here. If you select multiple choice, you can ask your question and then select the number of options. It starts with 2 and ends with 10. And how it looks like is like this. So I'm asking a question, what connector type is the Atom's balanced audio output? Then I've given 3 possible answers. So it's either a PowerCon or a PS2 or a Euroblock connector. And if I want to ask these questions to the audience, I can now start the poll. So I hit start. And now if you look on my screen of the smartphone, it immediately changes the view to the poll, and the question will be displayed, the possible answers will be displayed, and I'm just answering C. And once I click the answer, it's done. So there's no more buttons to push or anything to send. So this is now ready, and I will get the response immediately on my moderator app. Well, it's a bit boring with only one smartphone, to be honest. So if I would have more I could choose from, we could have done a bit more, yeah, diverse results here. But I guess that's good for the demo right now. And if I'm good with that, I see how many responses I've got. It's only one for the time being, and I can end the poll. So that's the final result. And if I want, I can now share the result. If I click on share and you watch my smartphone again, you see the screen changes with the results of the poll. So now everyone attending will see the results or the final results of the poll, and it will also show in the display app. So that's what also will be displayed on the HDMI outputs and also on this web page. So the good thing here is that you can virtually use digital signage displays, and you just enter a website, this web address, and it will automatically just show you poll results, the questions that you have shared with the audience. So that's yeah, pretty easy to establish. You can change the view from this bar graph into a pie chart. Again, with only one response, it's not that spectacular, but it might be a helpful tool as well, especially when having many options to answer from. Okay, so good. I've mentioned it earlier, there is a difference between a multiple choice and multiple answer question. So the multiple choice was what I was showing right now, that question. But there might be another type of question. So if I go to a multiple answer poll, like this one, is this an interesting webinar? You can answer, yes, indeed, my boss told me to say so. How long until lunchtime? And I start that poll. We're going to the smartphone again. And now you see, instead of just pressing the whole section, I can now enter checkboxes. I say, yes, indeed, but my boss told me to say so, and submit. Now I get these results. So this kind of poll allows me multiple answers to choose from. Again, I can change this into a pie chart, and if I want, I can end the poll and share the results and see it on the smartphone of every attendee immediately. Last but not least, and pretty self-explaining, is a yes/no answer, like this. Start the poll, and I can only choose between yes and no, and I get this result. So that's the polling function, very useful as well. And in the end, here, maybe I should mention that as well. Once a poll has been finished, I can reuse it. So because now the poll is done, I cannot start the poll again. So I can either go back to the main screen, or I can view the results. If I want to reuse the poll, it will just copy paste the poll into a new option. So it will allow me to change it again. So I can probably change the question a little bit, but then create the poll again. And it shows up here. So I don't need to enter everything again. It's a very good time saver here. If I don't want it, I can edit all of those entries and remove it. Good. On that section below, the last point is statistics. So we see the event pin. If you forgot, what was the event pin again for the people to join the event? It was 101. And the presenter, the event name, how many users, attendees, moderators. There can be more than one moderator, obviously. how many comments have been sent currently, how many mic requests have been done. So again, I've tested this beforehand, so it really counted up to 14 meanwhile. And also the number of polls can be reviewed. So again, it's a very intuitive UI. It's easy to use. The key point is to make it as least distracting as possible, because if you are on the stage presenting, you really don't want to be confused by too many buttons or any kind of stuff that is not necessary to operate the meeting. And again, especially the comment function, when people can send you questions, is like really a good way to engage with the audience. All right, so that is the moderator app. Now let's go back to the config panel. Because now everything you've seen right now is possible without configuring anything. So all that's needed is connecting the Atom to a wireless router. It needs a DHCP address and a wireless network. And then you can go ahead using an iPad as the moderator app and any kind of either iOS or Android smartphone for the participants. The Atom configuration panel is an add-on. So if you want to control things that are happening behind the scenes, you need to access the web page of the Atom. Use in my case, it's the default login, it's admin, and then the first 4 digits of the serial number and the last 4 digits of the serial number. If you find yourself somewhere in a control room and you want to access the Atom and you're not with the device currently, be told that the serial number is also here. You don't need to go and find the device and then note down the serial number. So you can just use the 4 digits here, the 4 first, and the last 4 digits here. Use it as a password, log in. And you will see that screen. I will stop my webcam. So this is the general dashboard of the Atom. You see that you will get a current state of the CPU usage, of the memory usage, if the Atom is in event currently, if it's being used right away, and what active event is currently running. The CPU usage timeline and the memory usage timeline shouldn't change that much throughout the session. So it's pretty idle all the way. So actually, this Atom is running now for a couple of hours, and there's nothing concerning here. Further down, the left tabs. In the network section, I can now select, and that's probably a very important part. I can now decide what my 2 network interfaces are doing. So in the application configuration, I can click Edit, and now I can tell what network interface is here for control access, and what of the 2 network interfaces is now used for application access. So you can lock down control and application to a single network interface, isolating the admin access to the device from the public network. So each category allows you to select a specific network interface. By default, both interfaces can do all traffic. So you can plug in whatever interface to connect it to the network, and you should have access to both control and application. The network interfaces themselves can be configured as well. By default, they are on DHCP, but you can use fixed IP addresses as well. The audio section, the interesting thing for most of us here, that is, it's kind of um, like a Windows PC audio devices control. So it will give you an overview on the connected audio devices or the Atom. So there's a master control, a headphone volume slider. Then I have connected my Tessera Forte to get the audio out of the device. So this will be detected as a sound card. And then also the USB audio DAC, which is basically the balanced audio output of the Atom. So that's always there. I would generally recommend to leave all those sliders on 100%, unless you're really dealing with a system you have no volume control. If you're attaching the Atom to a system without any volume, okay, then probably you may want to use those sliders. Otherwise, I would recommend just leave them up to 100. It helps keeping a good gate structure throughout of the system. A good tool is the internal test tone generator, so you can play a sine wave tone or pink noise, white noise into the system and just make sure that the audio is good. Be aware that this is full scale. So if I would start the sine wave tone, it will just give us a plus 12 dB sine wave tone here, because all of the sliders are at 100%. A pretty cool feature on the audio section is the newly added statistics tab. So if I go to statistics, I will see how the audio stream is doing in the background. That's also a new feature with the 1.9 update. And what I will do is I quickly change to the CrowdMics moderator app. I request to speak with my phone. Well, the camera is currently off, but you can possibly imagine what I'm doing there. I permit to speak and go back to the config panel. And now you see that the RTC, the real-time audio stream is now live. So once I permit a person to speak, it will begin a stream in the background. So there's already received packets, about 100 packets per second. And there's currently just about over 2 kilobytes per second in stream bandwidth. It will show me a round trip time in milliseconds. And most importantly, a packet loss statistics. If I press the talk button, hey there, I have a question. So I'm talking through my phone right now. And if we look at the bytes received rate, now it went up until over 4K. However, that's only 4 kilobytes per second. So again, very lightweight. So changing back to the microphone. And so that's a very good troubleshooting tool. If there's any network constraints, if there's any issues with Wi-Fi coverage, that will definitely help you to track this down. Further down here, the event statistics tells me what the moderator pin is and the attendee pin is, in case you forgot about that. Very helpful as well. In the settings, you can give the Atom a name if you have multiple of them. Moderator pin and attendee pin can be edited or switched on or off. There's a custom logo to upload, like I mentioned before, in the display app, which can be accessed through the website or through the HDMI outputs. You can add a custom logo here. And of course, the admin access can be changed. Last but not least, the update section is where you upload new software. So if we present a new, or if we release a new firmware for the CrowdMics Atom, just drag and drop the firmware file over here, hit upgrade, and it will literally take you 10 seconds to update firmware. It's a very streamlined process. Even though the firmware package is about 300 megabytes, it's very fast to update firmware on the CrowdMics Atom. So that is actually the end of my demo here. And we've already We're coming closer to 1 hour of this session. And so let me allow to just go back. To our presentation. And I guess we're good for talking about any potential questions you may have. So far, I hope this was useful to you, and also that the demo was useful to you. If there was anything that I didn't cover or what might be of interest as well, then feel free to just enter your questions in the console of GoToWebinar. Yep. Okay. Okay. I got a couple of questions, and let me just look into it. There we go. Can you display a message from the moderator? You can post messages sent by the audience to the HDMI outputs or to the display app. Yes, the presentation will be shared, or at least we will make it available. I'm not quite sure, but I guess there will be a follow-up email to every one of you containing the presentation slides. And as far as I know, this whole webinar will be posted to YouTube as well. Good question from Phil. That's a good one. I was waiting for that question for a very long time. What range of latencies might I expect for iPhones or Androids? There is some latency. So don't expect CrowdMics to operate just as a professional wireless microphone system. It is not a replacement for wireless microphones. It is an audience engagement tool, right? So there are latencies because we need to encrypt and compress the audio stream. So that takes some time. Depending on the phone you have, it may range between 50 to 70 milliseconds, maybe longer if it's an older phone, if you will. It really depends on the network throughput. It also depends on the smartphone you're using. From our experience, the newest iPhone devices are very quick. Also, the newer Android devices are very quick. Android needs a little bit longer. I don't know why this is the case, but it's really a matter of a couple of milliseconds, so not much of a difference. There's no limit for the number of characters available, I believe. You can just add very long comments. It is also capable of sending emojis, if you're interested in that. We've actually tested that. So there's no restrictions on that. So you can just text your message. I don't know if there's a character limit. I guess not. Currently, there's no automatic launch of Pulse following a PowerPoint. It's a good point. If you have any ideas like that or features you're missing, feel free to text us. Send an email to support@biam.com or get in touch with our local rep. And yeah, let us know the features you would like to see in CrowdMics. Any limitation of number of devices? That is a good question as well. We are currently limiting the number of 1,000. So 1,000 clients in a CrowdMics system. Okay, there's all right, another question from Even. Maybe that is something that we can discuss offline. I'm not sure if I get that question entirely right. Okay, so if there are any open questions left, feel free to get in touch with me directly or text to support@bion.com or reply to the follow-up email that we will be sending around. Your question will definitely be answered. There's a couple of more questions now coming in, so I will not be able to answer them all. At this point, I guess we're at the end of the webinar. I hope it was useful to you, and I hope it really made CrowdMics a little bit clearer to you. Again, I really appreciate the time you spent with us, and I really wish you a great rest of the day. So thanks again, and goodbye.